Hej, hello, og welcome to Flammende Pinde, Flaming Needles. My name is Hanne, and now I'm sitting in my living room in Aarhus, Denmark, where I live with my husband Just and our 3 children, Asger, Marie, and Kille. And for those of you who have been here before, you will notice that I am currently not in my Danish tongue, speaking in my Danish tongue. I am speaking English, obviously. And that is because the rest of the podcast is in English, and I thought that I would speak in English in case some English-speaking person would watch this also. I have to say that I'm a little bit nervous about doing this podcast, even though I've done a few before, but this is a very, very special podcast for me for several reasons. First of all, the second podcast I did had the title My Love Affair with Stephen West. So it's no secret that Stephen West is one of my biggest idols, knitting idols. I absolutely adore his style, his yarns, his colors, and his designs, and I've knitted quite a few of them already, although I'm not wearing any of them today. So being able to introduce Stephen West to my small little corner of YouTube is a major, major event for me. So first of all, I want to say thank you so very much to Stephen for having us. It was quite a fun experience because I was so nervous that morning. We went to Amsterdam last week and I was so very nervous, and I spent like a million trillion hours in front of the mirror putting makeup on and trying to rule the curls a little bit and doing girl stuff with myself in order to sort of get prepped. And then so I thought I looked okay when we left. And then we left and we walked. We lived a little bit outside of the city center and we walked down. Or you don't actually walk so much down, in Amsterdam is quite flat. And then we started shopping, and that was quite great. It was Stephen and Penelope, the yarn store, is located on a fabulous street with so many great little shops. So we had to go shopping, of course. And suddenly it was almost 2 o'clock, so I rushed to the store, quite nervous and in my big bubbly sweater. So I was also starting to get a little hot. And then Stephen came down the stairs and he just came up to me and hugged me and said, "Hi and welcome." And immediately I felt so comfortable. And there were customers in the store and they wanted his autograph, and I was standing on the side feeling a little bit special because I was the one who was supposed to talk to Stephen. So that was very nice. And then he said to us that we had to go to his place because we were supposed to do the interview on the first floor, but that room was occupied, so we had to walk to Stephen's place. And we did that. And I had my bag with all my stuff, and I had shopping bags and my big sweater on, and the sun was shining, and we were walking and talking, and I got more and more hot. So when we finally got to Steve, it was only 10 minutes, 15 minutes walk, but I was just a complete mess. My head was red, my makeup started running, I could feel all the warm things under my sweater, and my hair when we got up to Stephen's apartment and went into his studio where the interview is made. My husband, who is the producer of Flaming Needles, he said to me, "Oh honey, you have to do something about your hair." And but I don't have a mirror, And then he turned the camera around so I could see myself in the camera, and I looked at my hair and I thought, well, can't be bothered, because the most important thing is to get as much as Stephen as we could out to you. So this long rambling start is just to explain my rattled looks that are not only caused by meeting my big idol, but also by a lot of physical exercise running up to the interview. So that was my intro. And then I've been fiddling with this bag because I thought I would also show you before the main event my haul from Stephen and Penelope. And of course I had to get the West Knits Are the Best Knits tote, which is very nice. I love this blue color, and it's big and roomy. And inside it is all my yarn, almost all my yarn, because I got a sweater's worth of 2 different kinds. Spent a lot of money, but I'm sure Stephen's quite happy about that. But the tote is very nice. And I also brought this tote to the Van Gogh Museum. And if you go to Amsterdam, I have to say, you have to see that place. So the tote I got, very happy about that. And then I got this wonderful wrist ruler in red leather. Red is my favorite color. Actually, at the moment, yellow is a very hard runner-up for my favorite color, because we went to the Van Gogh Museum, and when I looked at the sunflower picture and realized that he made this picture with only 3 yellow colors, and he could make all these different yellows with only 3 colors and make that picture so vibrant, I just thought, oh, I think yellow is probably my next favorite color at the moment, but also in competition with another color here. The wrist ruler is from Love Handles, and it comes in many different colors, but as red is one of my favorite colors, I had to get it in red. So that was a little bit from my haul. Excuse me, I've had a cold ever since we got home from Amsterdam. Then they have made these stitch markers, Stephen and Penelope's own brand, and I'm gonna take a picture and put it up, but it's bicycles. And I have to tell you that if there's something there's a lot of in Amsterdam, it's bicycles. I live in Aarhus, Denmark, and Denmark in general is a bicycle country, and Aarhus is a bicycle city, a lot of students, but I'm actually positively sure that there were more bicycles per, what's it called? Per indbygger, or per person who lives in Amsterdam, than there is in Aarhus. And also I'm coming from a bicycle family, so that's pretty fun, so I had to get the bicycle stitch marker. And then I had to get bicycle yarn. Westwool, Stephen and Penelope's new line of yarn is called Westwool, and I got a sweater's worth in the color True Blue and a sweater's worth in the color grass green. And bicycle is the fingering weight, and they also make what's the weight? Is it, I don't know, is it, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't remember, but you can see it on his website. But a heavier weight yarn that's called Tandem, and of course bicycle and Tandem are great names for yarns that are sold in Amsterdam, and you can also get them from their web page. And I have to say, I started knitting with the True Blue because I knew beforehand that was the one I was gonna get, and I started knitting this wonderful design, which it's a sweater called Leaf, and I have it on my 60 centimeter needle, so I can't really stretch it out to show you properly, but it's a wonderful design called Leaf, and it's made by a very good Danish designer called Sanne Fjelland. And I'm so excited to tell you that my next interview for Flaming Needles will be with Sanne later on in April. So I thought it would be proper to sort of connect this podcast with the next one by knitting in Westwool, a design by Sanne Fjelland. And I have to say also, and this is not something I'm saying to suck up to anyone, but this is extremely good yarn. The color range is very beautiful, although, Stephen, could you please make some reds? Thank you. and it's really, really, really well made yarn. It doesn't split, and it just slides over the needle. It's so comfortable to knit with. And of course I love this I'm a color person, and I love this vibrant blue, true blue, and I can't wait till I'm gonna start knitting with the green grass. And I have the grass green, and I have a project lined up for that one as well. So that was the yarn that I got, Westwool yarn, extremely good yarn. And then, whoopsie, I got the hyper knitting book, and I also know I always have a lot of dream knitting, and I have a couple of projects on the needles right now, so I really shouldn't be planning anything, but this one, it's called what is it called? The Cozy Corner Shawl, and he makes it in both a stripy version. I'm not sure if he makes it in a stripy version, and he makes it in a broader stripy version, and that's the one I'm gonna make. And we have a little summer house on a little island called Samsø, and over there I have my stash, and in my stash I have some wonderful yarns that I'm gonna look at when we go for Easter holiday, to see if that will fit for this beautiful shawl design. But I'm busy with my leaf sweater, and so we will see. But then I got, and since I spent a little bit of money in the store, I got some freebies. I got some free recipes in what's the technique called? In brioche, I don't know, but they were free, so why not? I'm not a huge brioche, I'm gonna stop saying that word now, knitter, but actually the Excuse Me shawl is so cool, so we will see. But I got that, and then, because project bags is all you need, of course, I got this yellow, I could pick my own color, and I got the yellow one. And it says, "Keep on knitting, kitten." And I absolutely love that. So that was what I brought home with me from Amsterdam. Not all that I brought home, but what I brought home from Stephen and Penelope. Wonderful, wonderful store. It's just every knitter's dream come true to go into that store. The best service, very, very kind people, and very relaxed and cozy. So my utmost recommendations for going to Stephen and Penelope in Amsterdam. And also I want to say a few words about, before we go to the interview. I know you are very impatient, and so am I, but I have to say a couple of things about Stephen West. You are, Stephen, so sweet, extremely professional, and also a very, sounds strange, but shy and private person, which I really, really liked. But the professionalism was really good, because I felt so comfortable, and he was just you were ready to take pictures, and in every kind of way. And also when we were doing the interview, he was giving me little advices on the way, and said, and I was having a hard time getting, ending the interview, and he said, "Oh, don't you need to make it closer?" And oh yes, I need to make it closer. So it was really a great experience for me. Unfortunately, I forgot my pattern books, so I didn't get your autograph, Stephen, but hopefully next time I will. And I am definitely counting on a next time, because I thought that I would also in this episode take a few minutes to tell you something huge in my life. If you've been watching this podcast, you will know a lot about me. I'm actually a very, very private. I'm a private person on social media, not so much anymore, But you will know a lot about me, and I've been through a little bit of a struggle, and then we started the podcast, and then the podcast sort of developed, and suddenly I just had this idea that I wanted to start a company. I can knit, and I can knit from a pattern, but I'm not a very creative person. But knitting is my passion, and knitting is my hobby since I was 15 years old. And I really want to contribute to this lovely, lovely community with all these wonderful people that I have talked to and met, so I thought, I'm gonna make a company that makes knitting retreats, KnitTreats, and I'm gonna do it on really gorgeous locations in Denmark, and I'm gonna do it in Amsterdam, and I'm also talking to a very exciting person in Berlin about possibly arranging something in Berlin. I call it KnitTreat, and this is my logo, and I'm very happy about it. So if you don't like my logo, please don't say anything about it. I love my logo, I love the heart, I love the yarn, I love the the font, and I'm very, very excited about it. I've never been so scared in my life. I've never felt so free. So I'm still working. I'm working 2 days a week in my job, and then the rest of the time I'm starting to pull together all the threads for this company. I'm beginning to think about places and experiences, and every time we go, there will be a goodie bag with yarny, goodie, fibery things, and I'm thinking about that. And the thing that sort of messes this up a little bit is that my website isn't ready yet. So you can check out my website, but as soon as the website is up, I will definitely be yelling it out to the world as much as possible. So KnitTreat, I'm HanneJust on Instagram, and that is where I'm mostly active on social media. So that is where you can follow me and see the progress I'm making on this new, the journey as a metaphor is so worn out, but this new and very exciting journey in my life, being an independent woman with her own company. 20 minutes? Okay, so I'm getting the time. We have to stop this long intro. Cross your fingers for me. I'm going to talk more about KnitTreat on my podcast. I'm going to need a little bit of help. I already have help from some lovely, lovely women. Fie from A Little Yellow House Knits, Bettina from Anita's World, and the lovely girls from De Løse Ender. And now, Stephen West. Thank you. Hello and welcome to my podcast, Flaming Needles in English, Flammende Pinde in Danish. I'm trying to contain all the joy that's bubbling inside of me. I am currently at the studio of Mr. Stephen West.
Yes, contain the flame.
Contain the flame.
This is a very exciting wall to be in front of, all my knits.
Such an exciting, it's the private abode, so I've been invited to because the room we were supposed to be in at the shop was taken.
Yeah, this isn't so bad though.
But this isn't so bad.
Place to be.
And so we had to walk for a little bit to get here,
yeah.
Which means that I am completely red in the head, and you said do something about your hair, and I don't care because who cares today?
Thank you for coming so much. This is a pleasure.
Thank you for letting us come.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about many, many, many things, knitting, but first I would be naughty enough to ask, who are you?
Oh, that's a very deep and personal question.
Who are you, Stephen?
Who am I? Well, I always recognize that when people ask me who I am, what I do, it's always the knitter. And that seemed like a silly thing to me when I first started knitting. It was when I was 16 years old, and it started as a hobby, because some friends just taught me how to knit. and immediately I was addicted to it. Like I was the knitting guy in high school. Like in between classes, I would be like knitting in the hallway, and I made all my own, like I sewed my own bags for school, like these messenger shoulder bags, and I sewed these pockets into the bags that were like hidden compartments for my knitting. So whenever I could sneak some knitting, I could get some stitches done in school. So from the very beginning, I identified as I'm a knitter. Like that was like an immediate like lifestyle that it became.
So you're not a man, you're not an American, you're not a dancer, you're not a
Those are all secondary
global
things.
globetrotter, you're a knitter first and
Knitter
foremost.
first and foremost. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to like own and take on, because that can mean anything. I think. Maybe other people think a knitter is more particular or stereotypical one way, but how I involve and how I engage with knitting, it can be anything. It can be technical and traditional, it can be colorful and crazy. Men, women, whoever they identify as can all knit. If you have hands, you can knit. So I think that's something really special, that's what I think about the most is knitting, and that like encompasses all other things as well, like gender and culture, but to me that's all, I mean that's important too, but I think knitting is such this like, can contain this like free, safe space, and that's what I love about it. And I can change and evolve in that. So I can be a knitter, and I can do it technically if I want to, I can do it fashionably and colorful if I want to, but yeah, I can change how I engage with knitting depending on my mood. So right now it's very technicolored. But it used to be very like rustic and traditional and neutral when I first started.
Yes,
that's
you
how
can
I
see
was
that
as a
in your
person.
Ravelry shop. You have the Iceland series.
Yeah.
They're very
yeah.
nature colored. And
Yeah. It was like more rustic and nature inspired, and when I very first started my designs, they were smaller, and I was really inspired by kind of literal things. Like I would see a building and get inspired by architecture, and then I'd want to translate those exact details into knitting. And now it's become much more of an emotional, like sensual, like how am I feeling? What colors do I want to melt together? So it's less about literal inspiration now, and how I knit now is more, I feel more of a freedom. Like I still have all these same tools that I've been working with after years and years of knitting, but I just feel like I have more things to play with. And
so you have moved from a traditional,
a bit.
classic
Yeah.
knitter to gray.
A little bit, but it's interesting because I still have all of these techniques that I like
Yes,
to use.
yes.
So there's this like foundation of when I started of learning all these techniques, and I'm still learning techniques, like when I learned how to brioche, and now I'm learning these other like tuck stitches and textured stitches. So it's kind of mixing those technical aspects, but then I think it can be really powerful and interesting and playful when you can mix the technique and the knowledgeable parts of how to form a stitch, how to put colors together, but then when you mix that with a sense of freedom and play and curiosity, that's when it gets, I think, dynamic and like really addicting for me personally. That's where my engagement sparks, with the playful curiosity aspect of knitting.
So, a couple of questions mixed together in what you're saying. Tell me a little bit about how why and how and the change came in the way you knit from.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about all the techniques, your favorite techniques, and also don't you have your own little inventions?
Yeah, I have my own little
I think
inventions
you have
or
your own
unventions
I'm not sure
or
there's
shortcuts.
one. This one, oh my goodness, this one
Oh, the
took
little
forever
picots,
to bind off.
Yeah.
And these welts,
Mm-hmm.
they took forever to knit.
If it
I wanted
takes-
to knit the big one, but
Yeah. Stop her. That's the good thing about top-down shawls. You bind off.
yes, you can just
at
bind
any
off
time,
anytime.
and it's going to be a size. But
Tell me about the change. Why do you think
Yeah.
the change came? And tell me about your techniques.
Yeah, well, I learned from when I first started following patterns. In the first 3 years or so, I read a lot of Elizabeth Zimmerman books.
Yes.
And she is just a pioneer and like really empowered you to make it your own and not do things a certain regimented, particular way. She really had a humor and embraced variety and kind of finding clever solutions to things that may not be the right way to do things, the traditional right way, but to do it your way. So I kind of took that and took it even further into what I was interested in. and just stumbled upon all these like happy accidents, like in short rows. When you stop your knitting and turn around, I like put yarn overs in all the short row gaps.
Yes.
So like in this shawl, where all the short row turns happen, there's also like a decorative yarn over aspect to it.
Of course there is.
So it's not, it looks tricky and complicated, but it's actually an easier, kind of simplified way of doing a
The
technique.
Stephen West short row.
Yeah, I call it a shortcut row.
That's right.
And I'm sure I'm not the
shortcut
first one to do it, to put a yarn over in a short row, but by putting it in patterns, I think people thought it was more technical or something fancier, but I just did. It's basically a series of mistakes, and you repeat them over and over again, and it becomes a design. So where all these short row turns
It's a series
are...
of mistakes that becomes a design.
Yeah.
What a wonderful way to... well, my friend Tina knit this one. Hers is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And I've always been a fan of, even from when I first started knitting, I never liked to do really small details, like to hide things. So I really like the aspect in knitting of you see what you get. Like if you're doing something like a construction, I don't like to hide and be clever about being subtle in what I'm doing. If I'm doing something, I want people to see. So when I do a short row, let's show it off and do a yarn over in it.
So you don't do German short rows in your knitting?
I do sometimes, yeah, for
But
like when it's more functional, like for sweaters.
Actually the bubble sweater, but that wasn't a German short row. I don't know how because...
Yeah, that was kind of a long row.
I'm sorry.
The rows got longer and longer for the bubble sweater.
I'm just going to go out of camera. We're not so formal here. We're only amateurs. But I was very surprised because one time I did short rows where where's the front? Where you sort of have a gap if you don't do anything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't gap here. Is that because you pick it up in the bubble?
Yeah, it's because it's attached to the collar here. So we have like short rows that raise the back of this bubble sweater. And they start like shorter and then you knit longer and longer rows. So you're knitting the bubbles while attaching it to the collar.
Yeah.
So that's something I just like
That's
to
not
play
a good
with.
place, this place. What happened here, Stephen? What did I do
Oh,
to
if
make
this
this hole?
ever happens, if there's a little hole, that's also not a mistake. This is a signature of yours. So you just have to own it. Or you can like tighten it up. And honestly, in some of my sweaters, if there's like a loose stitch or something, I'm not one to rip back until it's perfect. I'll like tie a little knot or like tug on the neighboring stitches to make it work. I'm the type of knitter that like, I have a 10% rule. So if my sweater is 90% correct, that's good enough for me. Or like if I'm missing a few stitches, like let's say...
That's your signature.
Yeah, if I have a row that's 300 stitches long, I have a 10% rule. So if I'm missing 30 stitches, that's okay. That's 10% of 300. I just make it work. I like sneak in 30 stitches throughout the row.
Because the more I knit, the more I've been knitting and the more complicated things I've been knitting, the more critical I am about my knitting. So
Yeah.
I'd rather rip it back because I can't live with it.
Yeah.
But you're saying, live with it.
Yeah, if you just do that and you're the type of person that knows you can't, like if you see a mistake and you know I can't live with this, if you listen to my advice, that might make it worse. Then you really will freak yourself out. But I've noticed in myself, like when I stressed out about patterns, about them being perfect, I would get really frustrated because I have like these set up expectations of how it's going to go. And when you don't meet that, you feel like a failure. But lately now when I knit, like sometimes, like I think I'm knitting a hat. Like this sweater, I started knitting a hat. And it wasn't working out, and I thought it looked great as a collar. So this hat became a dress.
Oh, that's the
excuse me dress.
Excuse me dress.
But I never would have made something like this if I had these rigid expectations of no, make a hat, finish what you started. Like, we're knitters. How many of us finish what we start every time? That's not realistic. So we have works in progress. We're working on like 20 projects at a time. So if I'm not feeling a project, I put it aside and I cast on something new. Or if I'm not finding joy in something I'm making, I add a color opportunity. I embrace my color opportunities.
Your color opportunity?
So I add a color pop or I'll like add a stitch pattern. So I'm very aware of like knitting. It's become my job. Like it grew from a hobby into a job. So I'm aware that, okay, it is a job, but I don't think having a job and being unhappy need to go together. Like I'm always trying to engage and like, am I happy in this project? No? Then don't do it. Like, change the stitch pattern. And I'm lucky
so
because I like to...
that's me ripping out my bubble shawl.
Yeah. So if you're not feeling
sorry.
it, then rip it out. Or maybe it needs different yarns, or maybe it's just not the right day.
Oh, the crosses just... I had sweaty hands and I just couldn't do it.
Don't force yourself. It needs to be the right time, the right place.
So your design process, is that... Do you have... You say you started with a hat and then you made a dress?
Yeah. And then I didn't know
you missed 30 out of 300 stitches and then you had to do something, a little hole or something? What tell me about
So when the designs are happening, it all started really simple. So my very first design was just a triangle shawl that I wrote down as a free pattern. And a lot of people made that on Ravelry. That was 10 years ago. And then everything since then has been... Every time I've learned something, I like to do a design and kind of follow my fascinations, play and experiment, and make up kind of a new variation of something that was done before. So I had that triangle shawl, and I started putting color and texture and adding different increases, and then this triangle top-down shawl idea expanded into these like architectural forms. So
is this the...
So this one was one of my first designs called Herbivore that starts as a triangle, but then I put a little texture in the center, twisted stitches, and then I put these increases later because I was getting bored. So I had a triangle, I'm like, I've made so many triangles, I'm bored. So I just popped other increases in and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I was just like, oh, I'm curious what's going to happen. And then you get this like bursting shape. And I was like, oh, I haven't seen a shawl shape like that.
Pick it up, but yeah, it has this very U-shaped.
Yeah, there are these extra sections. U-shaped. So it's not a triangle, it became this unusual, different shape. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Okay, let me write that down, and that's a pattern. It's really a swatch.
This is a swatch?
Yeah, all my first designs I really thought of as swatches. They were experiments in shape and color and construction, but I didn't have all these preconceived notions of what I was making, like what I should make.
Very nice.
Yeah, this is Le Bien-Aimé Merino Sport. It's really softy. But I would just make these experiments, and then I think of them as swatches, and then this one leads to the next design. So all my designs, I think of, they're like theme and variations. Playing with an idea and taking it one step further, developing the shapes, and then maybe they get real crazy and big and colorful, and then I'll strip things down and go, okay, let's go back simple, build up another idea, play with slip stitches, play with yarn overs, where can that go? And then they have evolved from this like seamless top-down knitting, like this Herbivore shawl, and now they're becoming sideways, modular. I've been constructing a lot of the designs like puzzles, so they're not just knit one direction continuously. You make like the first shape, this is the Speckle and Pop shawl. So there's the first shape with chevrons, and then there's a picked up border with slip stitches, and then a final border with chevrons and brioche and yarn overs. But when I was first making this, I didn't know that this was what I was making. I had the first section, an idea, this was inspired by a previous design, so I kind of work with one section, and I kind of work it until it feels big enough, or until I run out of yarn, and then I make up the sections later as I knit.
I'll have to.
So I try to write things down as I go. I used to not do that. So I used to have to make like 2 or 3 samples of every design until it was a pattern, but...
You are writing now as you go?
Now I write as I go. If I know it's kind of becoming something, I'll write the instructions down as I go and make up each section. So I'll like make the first section and go, okay, that's something solid. Where can I go from here?
Well, it's very interesting because I have this agenda for questions, but they're all messed up. The thing I want to, because you're saying how you start something and then you just go, because one of the things that I really, really admire about your designs is the shaping.
Yeah.
And the human body, how well you make your designs for the human body. I have made several of your shawls, and they all just sit. If I want to wear it like this, it's not going to fall off.
Arch a little bit more than that flat line.
They arch, and also the dotted rays. Even though it's a wingspan, you can just attach it to your shoulder and it's just going to sit there.
Yeah.
and the exploration station is just gonna sit there.
Yeah.
And then the Batman shawl, you calls it the Batman shawl, the God of Goodness,
Yeah.
because it has this little fun.
Mm-hmm.
So you also work a lot with the human body, or what?
Yeah,
That's the
like I
Danish
try
term, or
things on as I go. Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, and because I'll like sketch on paper sometimes to get general ideas, like to brainstorm. But I will rarely sketch out a whole design and go, okay, I figured it out. Now let's make that into knitting. I'll cast on and knit and see how it drapes. So if things aren't working, I'm gonna make adjustments. And all the yarn overs and increases I've used have changed since I've started knitting. I don't do as many of the tight make one right and left increases unless I really want them there. I'm doing a lot more with yarn overs and short rows now. So yeah,
So you don't
try them on as I
consider
go.
how it's gonna shape on your body or my body when you design it.
I think about that a little. Like I know that I want things to sit nicely and not be too fussy. So I am thinking a little bit about function, but I think foremost about the color and the architecture of the shapes. And then because I'm kind of more open to unusual things happening, then you get these surprise shapes in your shawls. Another one I really like how it drapes is the new texture time, because it has this kind of V shape. So I knew that this would sit really nicely on the shoulders because it has this space for the neckline that this will just sit and drape. So if people want to wear it like that, that's fine. It's not going to go anywhere. That's a really easy one.
You can wear it like a poncho, and you can wear it almost like a poncho when it's down because it's stuck in the V.
Yeah, I like that. I just like the idea that...
Oh, you have bubbles on this one too.
Yeah. I like that things can be personalized with color. They can be personalized with styling, how you wear them. So you can do them really colorful and splashy, which is what I usually like to do. Or you can tone them down, and they can be really classy with like a black dress, or really casual, or yeah. So I like the idea.
Yeah, something like this would also be very pretty in one color because of all the texture.
Yeah. Yeah, so just a simple color palette would really show off the texture.
Yeah.
When it gets more busy with the speckles, it's more about the color. So this one I like because it's neutrals with the pops. Sometimes when it gets all color, like this is a bunch of crazy colors together. If you're putting lots of texture in this kind of palette, the texture would be hidden.
Which one is this one?
This is Chevron Shenanigans.
This is Shenanigans.
So this I kind of know now from previous explorations that when I do really crazy colors, I'll keep the shape and the stitches simple, so it doesn't compete with the texture.
Of course.
And then when I
that
know...
makes it so you don't make cream with whipped cream with cream on top of it.
Yeah, that's
you
really strong.
only make cream with strawberries.
Yeah. And I also have a trick, even like when this is a ton of colors, like there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
But to me it works because there's a sense of space. Like I like to mix my neutrals with the colors, because if it's all really strong colors, it can just get really noisy. But by breaking it up with light colors, there's a lot of dark neutrals sprinkled with the color pops, and that kind of gives it more flow.
It's very drapey
movement.
and flowing. And you
Sorry, I have to interrupt. I have to start it once again here.
Yeah, it's because of the bend. Where's the beginning of this shawl? Where did you cast on
This
this
one
shawl?
starts really tiny up here.
Yeah.
And so this would normally
And then
be
you
my...
work. This is not gonna fit in the...
Yeah, it goes way off on one side with short rows. So it's kind of a playful, diverging shape from the top-down symmetrical shawl, but it goes way off to one side.
Yeah.
So I
How
like
did you
that.
come up with that?
Just by playing. So this, originally I did like a couple
Just by
other shawls
playing.
that were more simple. So everything I create is all layered. So if you see something that gets really complicated, there's a big backstory behind that. The first shawls I started with this were really simple. There wasn't much color going on. There weren't the chevrons. Like Dotted Rays was a similar one to this.
Yes.
It had the short
construction
rows.
is-
Yeah. And before Dotted Rays, there was a simpler one. So it's all like layering and refining the construction and technique. And so when I cast on for this, I had the background of knowledge of, okay, like I know the shape's going to work out. So let's layer that basic shape with the chevrons. And then when I figure that out, I'm like, okay, I've got the chevrons. Now let's add color. So
How many colors in this one?
there's probably like 30 colors.
30? And you have a different... What are these? These are
I
mohairs
love
or...
mixing. This is what I've been getting really into this
Yes,
year is
I've
texture.
been noticing.
So textured stitches, textured yarns, These are some Angora pops, some alpaca pops. There's even some linen and silk mixed in. So I'm a big fan of mixing different bases, mixing different fibers together to make a collage of color.
But as a thumb rule, do you have that saying? A thumb rule?
Yeah.
If you go all cray
Yeah.
on the color, you tone the design a little bit down.
Yeah. As
And
a
then if you
general.
go all wild on the design,
Then yeah, these I made sure to have a couple
here you
neutrals
have,
in
here you have chevrons
Mm-hmm.
and short rows. Here you have bubbles
Yeah,
and
this is the texture time.
what are these called?
I call these kitty paws.
Yes.
They look like little
paws.
kitty paw prints.
And
There's bubbles,
and
waves.
waves. And
There's Latvian braids.
oh, there is?
Yeah.
These? Oh, that's where you knit sideways?
Yeah, well, you're going in a row. You're like twisting the yarn. So it's usually a technique done on mittens.
We have to
But-
take a picture of this one, honey.
Yeah. So it's usually a technique on mittens, but I put it, this was the inspiration starting point for this shawl. Kind of the only thing I knew I wanted to have was Latvian braids be a part of it. And that was how I started this design. Just do something with Latvian braids. So I kind of made, first I'm always addicted to brioche. So I started with the brioche section. I'm like, I'm happy. I was
Yes.
playing with these big increases in the center. I'm like, okay, that's something. That's going somewhere. So I knew I had a strong start. I'm like, okay, let's just follow the shape, follow the drape, and play with simple garter stitch, framing these braids. And then I just kind of build it out like a puzzle from there. But it's all done on the needles. I design it as I knit.
You go as you design as you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this was more complicated a bit. The Latvian braids, it took more time. So that was a little more labor intensive. You know, it wasn't relaxing garter stitch. You had to pay attention, doing the crosses. So I was like, okay, it's worth it. It was really fun, but that's enough. So the next section had to be really easy.
Yeah.
And then the final wingtips, that was really easy as well in garter stitch. So I'm like, okay, that was a big stretch of mindless, easy knitting. Let's do a fancy border.
Yeah, it's very fancy.
Yeah.
And it's sewed here. What is it? Picked up?
Yeah, it's a folded hem.
Yeah. So, I have so many things in my head to ask you. How long does it take you to knit a shawl like this? Number one.
Yeah.
You can answer that first.
Mhm.
How long does it take for you
It
to
takes
knit a shawl
anywhere
like
from 1 week to 3 years.
this? Okay.
1 week to 3 years. When I really have a deadline, like for the mystery knit-alongs, I have a deadline, like it needs to start on a certain date. I try to finish it before it starts.
You
So I
finish
try to finish
the whole design before
it starts. I
but
haven't
it-
done that every year, but I did for this year. This one, I dedicate a whole month. So I know that if I have a whole month and I do nothing but work on this one shawl design, that's enough time for me to make it extra special and to write out the pattern, make the videos. So that's, for me, a really long time. 1 month for just one design. Normally, for other shawls and sweaters, usually straight through. I've been pretty good at knitting one project at a time lately, so I'll do like a shawl or a sweater in a week. Like a big shawl.
So
like one of these.
from casting on till finished object and design a week?
Yeah, usually about 1 week for the big shawls and sweaters. Yeah,
That's
like
amazing. You
5 to
knit
10
amazingly
days.
fast. We're gonna do some footage of Stephen West knitting, speed knitting.
And that's if nothing goes wrong. If
That's
things
it.
go wrong,
That's
or if
it.
I get
But
distracted.
you've been like, they're coming out of your sleeves like crazy
Yeah.
lately.
So that means sometimes it's actually, I'm making them fast sometimes, but I've been working a lot more in advance the last year. So a lot of the times what you see is what I've made 6 to 12 months previously.
Okay.
So I've released some sweaters. I kind of have a backlog of things that I've done in the past, where if I feel like I'm not getting that much done in a month, I have these patterns that I can get out there.
Okay, so you have a little
quicker.
reserve
Yeah, I have a reserve.
to keep our interest going.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a businessman.
Yeah. Because my biggest fear is if I get sick or something, or what, like some months I'm
So you think we're gonna
don't have
forget
as many
about you?
ideas. Yeah. Or I don't have as many ideas one
I
month,
think we're gonna forget
as many
about you.
ideas. So I have a few patterns that's I'm hanging on to at all times. I'm like, okay, if I'm not getting much done this month, I know I'll have something. because I got to keep you busy, got to keep you out of
Yes,
trouble.
you gotta keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I started, when I discovered you, it was because I saw the picture of Exploration Station,
Yeah.
and I was just floored by it. Floored. How do you pronounce
Yeah,
that? I was
floored
on
by
the
it.
floor.
There's a lot going on with that shawl.
There's
Texture,
a
color.
lot brioche. How
Yeah,
do you
that
say that in English?
I say brioche.
Brioche.
You can say brioche.
And I thought I'm never going to be. That's just too complicated. I'm never going to be able to make that. And then after some years, I said to myself, I'm gonna make it. And so I did. And it's not difficult.
No.
So I guess this long thing that's coming out of my mouth is that your designs look so complicated. And okay, I know this is with the Latvian braids, but it looks complicated when you see it.
Yeah.
Also the Enchanted Mesa, I have knitted that one, so I love that one. But it's not difficult.
No, not when
Is
you're
that
in
something also because your opskrifter? Nej, det er dansk. Recipes. That's for food, honey. What's the word for a knitting opskrift? What's the word for the design written down?
The pattern.
The pattern.
The recipe.
The pattern.
Yeah.
It's very easy to follow.
Yeah, because I make it up as I go. I'm not one. I don't follow patterns usually. I like to make it up in my head, and if I can hold it in my head, like, that's what I'm gonna knit. I don't do too many charts. I don't do lots of, I like to write patterns where there's a repeat or a logic to it, because that's what's in my head.
First
as I'm doing
row,
it.
wrong side, boing.
Because I'm doing it on my needles as I go, and I write it down afterwards. So what you're seeing on the page is usually what is in my head. So it can't be too much, because I can only handle so much. So I can't do like all these big fancy lace charts and things with lots of technique and things going on simultaneously. I like to do 2 rows and repeat that for a while. And then you layer something else on it. Do another stitch pattern after that. So in the end, it can look really complicated, but step by step, it's always easier.
Yes, it's step by step.
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever met anyone who said, "Oh, I can't do Stephen West designs because it's too difficult"? Just look at Exploration Station.
And sometimes it might be the case. And like when I first started knitting, I didn't know how to do everything, but that's just part of knitting, is the process of it. And something, you might approach a pattern and not be able to do it that first time. You might not be in the headspace, or you might need to practice some brioche stitch first, or practice some increases first, but then go to that pattern again in a month, or go in the next year. Because I found that in designs, I've had some things I was trying to make, and I can't do this design. I can't figure out how to make this shape happen with the texture. And then I'll try that same thing a year later, and it'll be so easy.
So that's where from 1 week to 3 years come in.
Yeah, it's just a process. I think people sometimes have such a pressure on themselves to do things perfectly and to do things right the first time.
Yes.
And that is never the case.
And that's just not in knitting.
No.
Just in knitting.
And I think we all know that, but we still try to make things perfect the first time. And I still do that, but I know that, okay, just let go. It's not the time, it's not working. Don't stress yourself out. Don't force yourself to know something you don't know, or to be good the first time. You just have to practice, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Do something else. But yeah, that's how I knit. That's how I design.
So smart.
Yeah.
Are we running out of time, Stephen?
No, we have a little bit.
Okay,
more.
because I have a couple of more questions. The dancing stuff.
Yeah.
Why did you become a dancer, and do you use because I was so obsessed about your shaping. Yeah. So I thought, well, when you're a dancer, you know your body, and then you just know how to shape it. And I'm not a dancer, obviously.
We dance with our hands, with our needles.
Of course we do.
But I think they're very different mediums, but I think of them equally the same. I think everything is so interconnected and related. I started moving and doing dance and gymnastics when I was really, really little, just playfully, but started taking actual dance classes the same year I learned how to knit. So as I grew and played with dancing, I did it by following my curiosities, by playing. I loved modern dance and improvisation, so I wasn't never a really good technical ballet dancer. But if I had to make something up and do something more freeform and improvise, I was really comfortable with that. And with performing and working with gravity and working with other people working with composition and shapes in the space. That's what I loved. I loved the freedom and the expression of that. And that's the same exact qualities that I love about knitting. I'm not doing knitting to master every single technique and do things perfectly in a way that I think they should be done. I always like the idea of finding something new. Finding a new color combination to put together. Finding, that might not be new for everyone, but just new for me. Finding new shapes and how that interacts with texture and just being like following the curiosities of that. And that's what I always did with movement. So in that way they're the same, but yeah,
also
people think
different.
dance
Same,
and
but
knitting is so different.
Well, you
but
know, you sit still when you knit
yeah,
most of the time.
yeah,
I've seen you walking and knitting.
yeah. I like to walk and knit. And
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, basic knit like garter stitch.
yeah, but still.
Yeah.
And dancing is very, but you express yourself through both medias.
Yeah. And knitting, it has a rhythm to it. I like that.
That's right.
A rhythm in the actual stitches. So that's
right.
a very comforting physical thing. It's
That's
very
right.
subtle and quiet, but it is a physical activity that we're doing. So that resonates in me with the dance that I did, like that comfort and that kind of freedom and expressive nature
You know,
to
I
it.
have this watch because it's a long story, but I have this skridttæller. It's counting my steps
Mhm.
watch. And one day I was knitting and suddenly it said beep because I had 10,000 steps. But every time I knit,
Yeah.
it counted a step.
Oh, that's nice.
That's clever.
That's
So
very
I
clever.
easily walk 10,000 steps.
That works for me. That's what I do. I'm very active. If I'm
Stephen,
sitting,
can
but
you
I'm
tell us a
active.
little bit about your new yarn,
Yeah.
Westwall?
Yeah, we just launched it from Stephen and Penelope a few months ago, and it's been about a year in the making, and it's a collaborative project myself and Malia started. She's the other owner of Stephen and Penelope. So we started working on this new yarn line, and it was really scary at first because neither of us have made a yarn before, so we've been learning a lot along the way. But it's resulted, we have 2 bases that we have in store, and we're taking to some festivals throughout Europe this year. Yeah, and the fine one is called Bicycle, so that's a 2-ply fingering weight yarn, and the thick one is called Tandem, is a DK weight wool. So they're both merino wool spun with a little bit of tassel. So the merino is Falkland merino, so it comes from Falkland. It's more of a robust merino, so it's not a super like over processed like buttery soft merino.
No.
It's very soft, but it has like body to it. So it's non-superwash. It's good for color work.
But it is soft.
Yeah, it's very soft, but it has
Yeah, it has the texture.
some
It's not-
durability to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to
It's
fall
not-
apart
it's
and
not-
pill.
No.
Yeah, so both bases, the fingering weight and the DK weight, are the same yarn. It's all spun and dyed in the UK, in the Yorkshire area. And
We'll take some pictures from the store and show you the color.
from the
palette.
wall. And so there's 24 colors in each base, the fingering weight and DK weight. And yeah, we're hoping to add some more colors soon.
So how do you design a color? What do you say? I want something that's very blue, and how do you hit that color there?
Some are
So you just know this is just locked down, brilliant blue.
Some are exact and some were a little different. We sent physical swatches, examples of every color we wanted, so we didn't describe anything. Because your
Okay.
version of gold might be different from my version of gold.
Yes.
So we sent
True
physical,
blue.
so we sent physical examples and got a lot of samples back, and some were spot on, and some needed to be adjusted. But we were pretty clear about the types of colors we wanted from the get-go. So there's a lot of grays for the gray lovers, heathered grays and solid grays, and I definitely wanted some strong pops. So there's some really like straight to the point colors, like a bright blue, a bright green, a really good gold, and then there's some in between, some subtle murky, is it green, is it brown kinds of colors. So it was really fun. We're excited to hopefully expand on the colors in the future.
And you can get it. You can also get it online.
Yes. So all the
Stephen
colors.
and Penelope. Why Penelope? I thought.
Yeah. So the store was originally called Penelope Craft back in the day, about 8-9 years ago, and I joined about 4 years ago now. And we kept the name Penelope and just added Stephen and Penelope. But Penelope was there's no person named Penelope.
Okay.
Her name's Malia. That was the start.
So Stephen and Malia would be
Yeah. But Stephen Penelope is cuter.
Yes,
It's like,
it's
sounds really cute. And that was the name of the first store, Penelope Craft. So we wanted to
Very
keep that
cute.
Penelope. Stephen and Penelope. And then I added my name because I put my name. I've always been Stephen. So.
Yes, you're Stephen,
Yeah.
the king of knitting.
Yeah. So
Favorite fiber, favorite color. If I had a knife at your throat, or a knitting needle,
it's
and
different
said,
every day.
What is your
but
today? Which is your favorite
bright
color
blue
today? Yeah.
is my favorite. Like royal blue and bright, bright blues are my favorite right now. I really love gold. Yellows are my spirit color.
Your
Like,
spirit color?
Yeah, like my go-to.
If
I love
you're gonna
yellows.
dance your color, you're gonna dance in
It'll
yellow.
be yellow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But blue has been my craving of the month. So I'm real happy with this true blue
Yeah.
colorway, how that
Get
came out.
me some of that. Going shopping after this.
Yeah. And these are all, they're in the store in Amsterdam, and they're all online at stephenandpenelope.com. Yeah.
And what would you say if I said that I was thinking about making knitting trips for Amsterdam?
You should let me
Bring
know. That's
a
brilliant
lot
idea.
of Danish and maybe Swedish and other knitters
Yeah,
to Amsterdam.
You should all come. It's a great city to walk around.
Can
There's
we
a lot of yarn.
Can we hit a time where you could make some autographs and
Yeah.
get 20 crazy ladies?
Yes, we would love to do that.
We would love to do that.
You just let me know when you're all coming. We'll sync it up.
Because
schedule
maybe
it.
I'm beginning a little business with this kind of trips.
That'd be great. I think a lot of people would love to come to Amsterdam.
Oh,
You're
it's
all
lovely.
welcome. It's a really lovely city to knit because you can walk everywhere.
Yes.
There's cafes everywhere.
Everywhere. And you can knit everywhere.
Yeah.
I knitted at the restaurant last night. No one looked.
No.
There was an English guy next to me, and he said, "I just went to an anti-Brexit demonstration in London with 1 million people, and
Oh
the
my
lady
gosh.
next to me, she was knitting while she walked." I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
We are everywhere.
Yes.
So you would welcome us with open arms.
Of course. Of course.
Of course.
Mhm.
So this is the fast knitter Stephen West.
Yeah.
What are you knitting now?
Sometimes faster than on other projects than other. Sometimes more days than others. But I'm making another shawl. I always have a shawl on my needles because they're like my grab and go types of projects. So I'm on the final border. But I always like to charge my needles, like push a ton of stitches on the needles, and then I just like pick with my right needle. And I usually hold my finger out quite far. It's just kind of a
Yes.
habit.
That's very far.
Yeah.
And then you tension your yarn around your little finger, or what?
Yeah, I do a little pinky wrap.
Yeah.
Little pinky wrap and over the index finger.
And then you just pick.
Go, go, go.
And you don't. You do continental knitting. You don't do English
Yeah, I
knitting.
used to do English style, and then I retaught myself years ago.
Okay.
on
So
how to-
when you first learned to knit, you learned it English way.
Yeah, for the first like 5
You
years or
wrapped.
so. Mhm. It was
Did
really
you?
hard
Did you?
to
Did
switch.
you? Yeah, it was hard to switch.
Yeah, it was terrible. But it eventually got comfortable, and it was really slow, and I just stuck with it, and it got quicker and quicker.
Did you hold the needle like the fancy way, like you hold a pen?
I always held the needles the same way. I just changed how I held the yarn.
Yeah. So now this is your go-to knit.
Yeah.
And this pattern you're knitting on is
This
is
will
a
probably-
completely new release.
It'll be a
because-
new one. It'll probably be out in a week, April 11th. But it's always up to the date. I'm always working on a few things. Sometimes at the last minute I'll swap.
What's
Be
the
like,
name of this one?
I don't have a name yet.
Don't have it.
but-
Do you have the pattern written down yet? Or?
Yeah, this one's all written and checked.
So now you're check knitting.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of testing it out and making up the border at the end.
Do you do all your own test knitting?
No, I have some test knitters that help and a tech editor now that checks everything, all the math and the grammar and everything
Okay.
like that.
Do you have a regular circle of test knitters, or can Danish knitters sign up for?
You can always email. I have a regular set of test knitters that I use, but you can always check in with me because sometimes I'm in need of spare last minute test knitters.
How many times is a pattern test knit before it's released?
It varies. Sometimes like 3 to 6 times. Yeah, I try not to do like 20 people to test knit because that takes forever.
What
But,
about
yeah,
a sweater
3 to
pattern in
6.
different sizes?
I try to get most sizes tested. Definitely everything's tech edited for the sizing. But yeah, all the sweaters are knit like 3 to 6 times before being released. Make sure that the sweater actually fits is good. Yeah.
So that was a little bit about the pattern writing and the knitting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes. This is with the Ching Fiber Surrey Alpaca. It's one of my favorite yarns, the fluffy alpaca, mixed with the West Wool Bicycle. So it's a little bit of a woolly wool, woolly merino with the fluffy alpaca. Texture contrast.
And now Stephen just sits and knit.
Now we knit all
How
day.
many hours a day do you knit? So, you know,
Like a
approximately.
good day would be like 6 hours would be amazing. I can like 6 to 8 hours is a good knitting day. But yeah, some days I just knit a half hour if I'm working on patterns and emails.
But every day you knit.
Every day I knit at least a little bit.
What about your hands and fingers? Do you have any problems?
Nothing yet. So I take stretching breaks and take good care of my hands. So hopefully nothing pops up. But yeah, my dream is to knit all day, every day.
Yes, my dream is too.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's never gonna happen.
Mm-mm.
Well, thank you for showing us how you knit, Stephen.
Yes. So I've got more designs. There's a new book coming later this fall. So there's a lot to
what's
keep
the
you all
title
entertained.
on that book?
It'll be a surprise.
Oh, it'll
But
be a
this fall,
surprise.
winter, there'll be a lot of new shawls and sweaters to keep you entertained.
Keep us on our toes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for having us. Flaming Needles. I'm Hanne. My husband just was behind the camera. Thank you, honey.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.